In this town, there's no off-season. The news never stops, and neither do we. It's always game day in Cleveland with Andy Baskin and Daryl Ryder.
It is always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I am Andy Baskin. We are brought to you by our good friends at Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. All right, Daryl, a lot of things to talk about. I'm going to first start off with your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. I love these guys. So
you're gonna do that to me. You're gonna do that to me right now, right out
of the gate. I mean, that's been, I get it though. There's a little bit of history for you with the Saints, and so I'd like to talk about something positive for a minute here.
I'm impartial this week, though, Andy. I have no favorite teams this week. I want to make that very clear to everybody.
Okay, you're a referee. Is that what you are? You're Switzerland.
No, I am Switzerland. I'm not a referee, but I'm Switzerland. I am absolutely neutral. Yes.
Daryl Switzerland Ryder joining us on the podcast today.
I'm setting my birthplace aside this week. Setting that aside.
Okay. See, that's fair, though. I don't think, I think Browns fans can respect it if you were born in New Orleans. And, you can just say, okay, I was born in New Orleans, so they're my second favorite team. I'm okay with that. Right?
As you should be.
Okay, I guess I don't have a choice. So. Right. Let's dive right into the locker room stuff from today and the coach and just what was said on this Wednesday. Kevin Stefanski, really the first time that, well, no, I guess I should say the first time we talked this week, but they didn't, because we made a business decision not to talk on Monday. So help me with that. Let's go back to Monday and talk about the business decision of the Browns.
Which one?
The business decision.
The left tackle?
Yes.
Well, I mean, look, I think that people got hooked on the quote, and we're in a quotes business, so I get that. But he said a lot of other stuff related to that.
Yeah.
Jed talked about, hey, he's played through injuries before. And when he's not played well, he's been killed for it.
True.
And so he just didn't want to go out there and do it again. Also, he's dealing with bone bruise in his knee. He's dealing with cartilage damage in his knee still. It's the knee that he re-injured is the same one he just had surgery on last December. So I get that the quote, the business decision, I made a business decision where I get that quote, that's what gets the headlines, but there's other anecdotes that go in with that. And it's compounded by the fact that, let's be honest about it, Jed hasn't exactly lit the world on fire since he was drafted in the first round, right? And, I'm wondering, if a popular Brown, if Myles Garrett came out and said, he missed a game or two, right? Because of an injury. And he said, well, I made a business decision not to play because I wasn't 100%. I was maybe 70%.
But you're so much better just saying, I'm not 100%. I'm 70%. Right. And by the way, I had surgery on this, and I'm starting to feel like I did after the surgery. I thought Kevin Stefanski hit the nail on the head when he tried to describe things and said it was just a bad choice of words. I know people he was getting laughed at for defending him that way, but I thought that was being honest. I got Kevin's back on this one because I said it right away. I'm like, you just should not have said it was a business decision.
Correct.
That's all.
And honestly, Monday, that's kind of how I walked away from it thinking as well, that everything that Jed had to say was valid, right?
Right.
But at the same time, again, he has the reputation of not being the best offensive lineman on the team. And he's had instances where he has let the team down with his play. He's had instances where he had to be encouraged to play through some injuries. And when he has tried to do that, he's not played well. And so then they jump on him for that. So everything he had to say was valid, but to your point, absolutely. And I think that's what Stefanski was trying to articulate today, was that he just picked the wrong words to use.
Right.
The rehab did not go as smoothly as it needed to go for him. There's lingering effects. Another tentacle to this is, and I asked Kevin about this as well, the three offensive tackles coming back from knee injuries have all had problems. Like, and I'm sorry, I don't believe in coincidences. Now, Kevin said it's a coincidence that they're all independent and whatever, but I don't believe in coincidences. I don't think that they manage these injuries correctly for these three guys. I also think that maybe these three guys came back a little too soon or, pushed the envelope a little bit. I think there could be some of that you could throw into this situation. But, yeah, I mean, poor choice of words. Guy ain't going to be here next year. Let's be honest about it, right? He's not getting another contract from the Browns. They're going to have another left tackle next year.
So, but I'm going to tell you what Jeff's argument's been on the air, and I just I don't roll my eyes at it. I just wonder what he's thinking. He's like, well, what if they move him over to right tackle?
Yeah, that ain't going to happen. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I just can't see it. And when I say that, Jeff's like, you're probably right. He's not going to be here next year. And so, I say the same thing, and it's just like, what are we doing here? Like, this is the other part that I'm struggling with.
The reason why, Andy, I just don't really want to invest a lot of energy in it. Yeah, I wrote about it on Monday, but I also put in all the ancillary information that he, had with the quote. Yes, I did publish the video and the headline, and I made sure that businesses, because I want people to watch the video.
Sure.
But it was here's the thing too. It was a 90-second video, okay? And included in the 90-second video was all the other stuff he talked about. Playing through injuries and being ridiculed and not wanting to subject himself to that, and not being 100% and all the other, problems he's dealing with. I put all that in the video. But you know what? People stop watching after about 30 seconds. How do I know this? Because I looked at I looked at the data.
Right.
We don't have attention spans beyond a singular soundbite.
Wait, what did you say? Oh.
Exactly. Thank you for proving my point.
What?
So, and that does get lost in the sauce a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's why I don't really want to invest a whole lot of time in it, because I don't think it's worth it. He's not going to be here next year anyway. And poor choice of words. Kevin said it today. Like, he's not going to play on Sunday. It's going to be DeJuan Jones at left tackle.
Well, he's not scheduled to play. Put it that way. We've seen what the injuries this team's gone through all season.
Okay, fair
He's
enough.
not scheduled to play, yeah.
Fair enough. But so he's not scheduled to play. So, that whole situation was what it was.
Okay. How do we stay away from a season of apathy at this point? Because that's been my other thing. Like, I'm trying to figure out, what do I really like about this team right now? They have 2 wins. And, is it like, I can just hear the morning show on Monday. Oh, the Browns beat the Saints. Super Bowl, Super Browns, right? I mean, it just takes one win to turn everybody around, and a win would be very, very nice on Sunday, but it still doesn't change the big picture.
Well, I mean, the Saints are going through their own problems, right? They started off like gangbusters, 2-0, scored 91 points in the first 2 weeks of the season. Everybody's loving them, right? And then guys start getting hurt, including Derek Carr, and the wheels fall off the wagon. They lose 7 straight. They're coming off of a win last week to end that losing streak. But, I think that it's a lost season for the Browns now at this point. I think a win on Sunday maybe just kind of, douses the flames a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of.
Yeah, there's a lot of 3-win teams in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
So.
And the other thing too is like, I mean, and I found this interesting when I asked Kevin Stefanski on Monday about it, was like, because at some point, obviously it's not going to be this week, but like at some point they're going to look at other guys. Like Isaiah McGuire is going to get a look along with Obo Okoronkwo at defensive end, replacing Zadarius Smith, whom they traded to the Detroit Lions, right?
Right.
So there's one opportunity to look at a young kid. DeJuan Jones is getting a look at left tackle right now, right? So that's another opportunity to look at a young kid. And I feel like that there's going to, as you go deeper into the season, just based on the quality of the opponents that are on the Browns schedule, those opportunities are going to come up to look at other kids. And that's why I asked Kevin Stefanski on Monday, hey, at what point does it, yes, I realize you are trying to win every week. You're not tanking, all that kind of stuff. But at some point, you're going to want to see some snaps from some guys. And I think that the number one guy, and it's because it's Cleveland, it's because it's the position where this franchise continues to fail, is everyone's anxious to see Dorian Thompson-Robinson start multiple games in a row.
Hang on, because I want to bring that up. Let's do that next segment because I wanted to talk about the quarterback situation too. So I think you've laid out a good foundation. We're going to talk more about that in a second. Thanks for listening on the Odyssey app. We really do appreciate you watching on YouTube. We're back right after this. It's always game day in Cleveland. It is always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. Again, brought to you by Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. Daryl, when we were last talking, we were talking about the quarterback situation running down the stretch here. Yes, I see arguments to say, give Jameis Winston every game down the rest of the road. But there's another argument that I truly believe in. I want to see Dorian Thompson-Robinson get at least 1 week to work with the first-team offense and see what he can do when there's actually a game plan, knowing that he is the quarterback and the starting quarterback. I don't know what week that's going to be. I don't know if the team actually thinks the season's 100,000% dead. But, and if you still feel like Jameis gives you the best opportunity to win, I'm all for that. I just know all these wins move you down in the draft order, and I'm okay with that. But at the end of the day, if they don't win a lot of games, I'm not going to lose my head over it. So what to do at the quarterback position?
Well, I'm looking at the schedule right now.
Okay.
And there is no good game to put Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Okay, actually, I lied. I apologize. December 2nd at Denver, which as of right now is scheduled to be a Monday night game.
Right.
I don't know, at some point ESPN might want to consider flexing out of that thing as quickly as possible, hit that eject button.
Yes.
But you don't want to put him out there against the Steelers on Thursday Night Football. You don't want to put him out the following week against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. You don't want to put him out there against the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know, maybe December 19th at Cincinnati. Another scheduled Thursday night game that at some point I think they need to hit the eject button and get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you follow that up with Miami, and then you wrap up the season in Baltimore. So there is no good stretch here where you're like, hey, let's string together 3, maybe 4 or 5 starts for DTR so you can get a good barometer where he's at. And the reason, and the second reason why I'm like, yeah, I don't know that this needs to be about seeing DTR. Because I think Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry and I guess Ken Dorsey, assuming he matters at this point, and Mike.
Why are you implying that Dorsey's dead man walking? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not implying anything. I'm just saying, does it really matter what Ken Dorsey thinks?
Probably not. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay.
As far as like a decision-making process with the front office, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think Ken Dorsey's up there picking personnel at this point, but Kevin Stefanski weighs in. Certainly Andrew Berry's weighing in, right? They already know what they have. They know if this guy knows the playbook. They know what his, physical plus minuses are. They know his on the field plus minuses. They know his practice plus minus. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, no, I hear you.
So like if he doesn't get an extended look, I don't know that people need to like be all upset and freaking out about
the only time that would happen, Daryl, I think, is if they let him go, they move on from him, and then he becomes a huge success somewhere else.
Well,
that's the only time anyone's. And I mean, what are the odds of that? I don't know. I just don't know.
How many former Browns quarterbacks have gone on to be this big, massive success? Only one comes to mind right now.
Baker is the only guy that's
that's the only one that comes to mind. And I've said it time and time again. Good for Baker that he's killing it in Tampa. I just think that he had to go through that process in his life where, the Browns traded him to Carolina. The Panthers released him. They ended up in Los Angeles. And then he ends up in, I feel like he had to go through that in his professional career. And to some degree, personally,
mm-hmm.
To have those failures, if you will, that has made him a better player and better professional today for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't think a continual timeline with the Cleveland Browns would mean that Baker would be doing for the Browns what he's doing for the Buccaneers, if that makes sense. So
no, I totally get it. Yeah.
So
it's almost like
I hesitate to do the, hey, look what Baker's doing down in Tampa. Boy, the Browns really blew that one, right?
It's like watching Marvel's What If series. It's the same thing, right? It's different timeline.
Exactly. So, and this is the struggle the Browns find themselves in. It's the never-ending struggle going all the way back to 1999. They can't find the quarterback. They've taken chances on guys. They've gone the retread veteran route. They've gone the first-round draft pick route. They've gone to throw some, against the wall and pray it sticks route. They've done everything you can do, right? And then they went to the whatever it takes to get Deshaun Watson to become a Cleveland Brown. We are willing to sacrifice everything and anything to make that happen. And they did. And guess what's happened there? It's bit him in the backside in the most unimaginable way, to where it now is going to hamstring this franchise for the next couple of years, potentially, depending how this whole thing gets handled, depending how healthy he is. A guy that hasn't played since 2020, has had 2 season-ending injuries that have required surgery. Like, those are not great metrics for this guy coming back in 2025 and being the missing piece to your puzzle. You know what I mean? Like, that's not me dogging on Deshaun. That's not me hating on Deshaun. That's me being realistic about the whole situation at this point, right?
Right.
So, yeah, hopefully he comes back healthy or whatever, but I don't know if I'm the Browns, considering the reaction of the fan base when he did get hurt, right? And all that. Like, I don't know if you can trot him back out there again as a Cleveland Brown. So the options for quarterback next year, you're going to be looking at the scrap heap again. Because you can't really afford to maybe pay someone. You have to get economical with it a little bit. Hope you strike lightning in a bottle. I don't know what that looks like. Joe Flacco has kind of poured a cold bucket of water on we wish Joe Flacco was still here brigade.
Yeah, that happened. Yep.
So with the Colts going back to Anthony Richardson. So, like, it's a lot easier for us to, like, talk about the situation than it is, I think, for the Browns to actually find a solution to the situation. I have no idea what it looks like. What I am confident in saying is Deshaun should not be part of the future of this football team when they're planning. They should plan to deal with this contract however they have to deal with it, and within the rules of the collective bargaining agreement and whatnot. But I don't. To me, he's not the future. Andrew Berry's going to have.
Let me throw this question at you really quick.
This was a 10-year thing.
Is the investigation over?
I think I don't think it's over, but I don't think it's going anywhere.
Okay.
You don't.
I don't know. I mean, it's just, why wouldn't the league just say, okay, investigation's over?
Is to keep it confidential. It's a confidential settlement. So whatever
well, no, I'm just saying, if the settlement has been made and the accuser can't talk and signs they're not going to talk deal, right, and the league has nowhere to investigate, then wouldn't the league just come out and give up? There's no investigation, it's over. Why leave it out there as long as they have?
Well, because if they just said that, Andy, you would probably have some backlash, right? They would say,
yeah, that's a good point.
The backlash would be, did you not read what was accused in the lawsuit to begin with? So at least the NFL maintains their whatever it is, right? Their I don't know what the term is, but they at least can.
They want to look at the scales of justice.
Yeah, they could say, we took a look. There's not, we weren't able to corroborate, because what the league can ultimately say, Andy, is we were not able to corroborate what was submitted in the lawsuit. Therefore, we can't punish Deshaun again under terms of the
first agreement,
personal conduct policy, because again, we couldn't find evidence to support those claims, and obviously the key piece of the evidence to support those claims has to come from the accuser. Does that make sense?
Absolutely does. All right, Daryl, I want to bring this up when we come back in the next subject. Not sure. We'll find out. There was another tidbit today about what the city is talking about. Maybe you can explain it. I don't get it. Cleveland.com had another story about the dome and what the city is saying. So we'll come back. We'll digress that, or dissect that is probably a better word. It's always game day in Cleveland. It is always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. Browns getting set to take on the Saints on Sunday. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Daryl, Cleveland.com today had a story about how the city of Cleveland went out and they did their study about what it's going to mean if the Browns leave the city of Cleveland. And it was funny, even in the story, it said sometimes, and I'm paraphrasing here, that it's just sometimes the credibility of some of this research is skewed when it's done by the city, when everything in it seems to be in their favor. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like, you got to make sure you read this, but you might want to take it with a grain of salt. And, they were saying, part of the story itself was just about how other cities say they get these big events, and they don't get as many big events as you think. Right. And I'm trying to think of just all the jobs that we lost, the jobs that are created by the Browns on game day. But I'm like, well, those same jobs will be created because they have to do them at the new stadium. So whether you're parking downtown or parking by the airport, really, what's the difference? And if you live on the west side, you're probably happy because it's less gas money.
Right. Well, then, they were talking about the Crocker Park, Legacy Village.
Yeah. The big argument today from our callers was, who wants to go to Brook Park? They don't feel like it's accessible. And I'm like, really? I
do you not go to the airport ever?
Yeah. Have you ever? I mean,
it's right there. It's airport here, dome location right here.
They're saying that no one's going to want to go there to hang out. And I'm like, what do you? They were trying to compare it to.
Well, nobody does the Browns games now to hang out unless it's in the back of their car, or their RV or trailer or whatever.
Oh, they're saying to take away from the bars, but then again, they kind of had to shut down the tailgates or the bars on game day. Now they've got all these extra police down there. It's just like it's just a mess. It's a mess down there on game day. Like our tailgate had to get moved, right? The fan tailgate from the bar that we were using, that they were going to, had to get moved because they were having too many problems down there.
Yeah, I'll say this. I don't know how you can sit in a meeting with the Browns and tell them that they're a loss leader economically for you, a multi-million-dollar a year loss leader for you, and then commission this study that says, oh, the Browns are so vital to our economy and the stadium's so vital to downtown's revitalization and resurgence, even though we've done nothing around it for 30 years since it's been built. But I get annoyed with politicians when they start.
Well, the whole thing is just, it's all politics. It's just the whole thing.
That's all it is.
I got to tell you, Daryl, I'm tired of it. I'm absolutely tired of look, you're talking about jobs, and I've talked about the building trades 1,000 times in this scenario. Let's make work for the building trades. Let's hire 900 people to work on the new dome. And I'll be honest, I wish the dome was downtown. I really do. But the city's had forever to kind of sit on this thing, not do anything about it. We talked about Burke for over and over and over again. Oh, you can't use Burke. It's for national defense. Like, I heard a million different reasons why they couldn't get rid of Burke. And then suddenly, when the Browns say, you know what, we're going out to Brook Park. Oh, yeah, we can use Burke. We can get rid of Burke.
Yeah.
Like, what?
You know what? I feel like that there's some posturing going on here. They're trying to make the Browns out to be the bad guy. Meanwhile,
that's exactly what it seems like.
Meanwhile, the Browns are going out of their way to not make anyone else look like bad guys in this whole thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And look, there's a lot of political motivation here. I mean, let's be honest about it. The Haslams are diehard Republicans. A lot of the leadership here is Democratic. The Haslams did not support the campations of.
No, there was a lot of money put into that gerrymandering thing too. All that stuff's all public.
But what I'm saying is the Haslams didn't support the campaigns of the city leaders. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So there's a personal political component. There's a lot in here, but
end of the day, Daryl, does the city need to be a landlord anymore? Yes or no?
No. I'm a Cleveland resident, and I would love nothing more than to have my tax dollars go into the school system, go into the roads so I don't get concussions when I drive on Cleveland roads anymore. I would like them to go into programs to uplift the poor communities, especially on the east side of Cleveland, where the homes literally are falling apart, to help those homeowners and those residents fix up their homes so that they can, they can live with pride, if you will.
Sure.
That's where I want my tax dollars to go. I don't want them going toward the maintenance and upkeep of a stadium that was outdated the day it was opened.
That's used 10 times a year.
Right. Like,
I'll give you 50. I'll even give you 20.
I
It's
think
not even used 20 times a year, other than for a couple weddings and bar mitzvahs. And
they're better off demolishing that thing, throwing it into the lake, turning it into another fishing reef, and building stuff down there that can be used 24/7, 365
to supplement the Rock Hall, to supplement
right.
the Science Museum. Yes,
exactly. And guess what? I bet you'll make in the end more tax money off of that than you would if the Browns were still there. So, and you wouldn't need the amount of safety services that you have to pay overtime to cover Browns games and things like that. So I just think that there's a lot of political posturing going on right now. You got, elections again next year. You got people trying to save face. They don't want to be blamed for the Browns going to Brook Park. I don't know. Maybe some people that oppose this whole thing, maybe running for mayor next year. I don't know. Like,
there's no surprise in that, right?
It feels like there's a lot of performance art going on politically. And so I just kind of take everything with a grain of salt, because I have heard what has been said behind the scenes. Okay. And I without giving up the confidences of things that I've been told, I will just say it is drastically different than the stuff you're seeing in the media coming from city and county leadership. That's for sure.
All right. So like I say, well, whenever I see when I see these stories, I'm like, this is cute. It's going to Brook Park. I mean, give me the percentage of this thing not going to Brook Park.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the percentage is, because they're still fighting over it. They still have to go through the legislative process to get money from the state of Ohio. Remember, the Bengals want money for their stadium. They want to do a $1.2 billion renovation of their own stadium too. So, that's why they want to kind of get this all rolling, is because they want to be under construction in 2026. They have to hit that deadline. They have to be under construction in 2026. So whatever project it ends up being, and wherever it ends up being, it can get done. If it ends up being Burke, well, they got to get that airport closed by 2026, and they got to break ground. And then guess what? If you thought $2.4 billion was too much for this dome, the next one, the one at Burke, is another $900 million more. It's $3.3 billion. And that doesn't include the infrastructure cost either. So you see what I'm saying? Like,
no, I hear you.
There's not a lot of time. It's real compressed right now for them to to get the financials in order to move forward with whatever, wherever, whenever, however, and all that. But, it'd be nice if the political posturing would stop and they would start working on the plan.
Yep.
Get this thing moving forward again. Wherever, whenever, however, they got to do it. Like, that's what needs to happen right now.
All right, Daryl. It's Browns and Saints on Sunday. We will be back after the game on Sunday, so we'll have our post-game report. So we look forward to you and any feedback you want to give us. We always love it. You know how to get a hold of Daryl. You know how to get a hold of me. Want to thank Evan O'Brien, our producer, again today. It is always game day in Cleveland. We'll see you after the Saints game on Sunday.